earn more money but too busy to start a side hustle? Do it the right way and teach your money to make more money for yourself, even when you're asleep. Dale Corpus will show you just how here on the School of Cash Flow. With his entrepreneurial mindset and extensive experience in real estate and finance, Dale will help you become a responsible, strategic, and passionate passive real estate investor. Learn how you can increase your earnings or find more ways to make money, only here on the School of Cash Flow.
Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the School of Cash Flow. I'm the host, Dale Corpus. I feel refreshed today as I just got back from Mexico and I was out for a week over in Cabo. It was very relaxing and fun. I still smell like tequila and Dos Equis beer, but that should be the case. It's a sign of a good vacation, at least. And speaking of world traveling, I'm really excited about my guest today. His name is Tait Duryea, and he's both a pilot who flies around the world and is the founder and CEO of Turbine Capital, which is dedicated not only to investing in real estate, but also educating other investors about passive investing. Here's a little bit more about Tait as well. So as a 12,000-hour airline pilot, Tait understands the lifestyle needs and wants of a professional aviator. On a personal crusade to replace his income with cash flowing real estate, Tait founded Turbine Capital to provide his colleagues and others the same direct access to professionally managed real estate opportunities he worked so hard to find. So with over a decade of residential and commercial investing experience, Tait began passively investing in self-storage and multifamily and development syndications in 2017 and has since accrued significant experience in the analysis and due diligence of these offerings. So without further ado, thanks, Tait, for being a guest on this episode.
Thanks, Dale. I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, well, wait, how are you, first off?
Doing great. It's a beautiful day. Happen to be in Honolulu today, and just enjoying the Aloha Friday.
Very cool. Hey, are you based out of Honolulu?
I am based in Honolulu. Yes.
Oh, what a perfect place to get to be stuck at during COVID.
That's right.
I know I had a long intro already, but is there anything else you'd like to say about yourself to the audience that I may have missed?
No, that was perfect. Like you said, I'm an airline pilot by trade and fell in love with flying at an early age, but also had a passion for real estate and financial freedom. I read that beautiful purple book by Robert Kiyosaki when I was maybe 12 or 13, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. So now I get to do both. And it's a blast.
Amazing. And that's amazing. I mean, I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad really changed a lot of people's lives about just like understanding, the financial world, because it's not really taught in schools. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So tell me more about Turbine Capital. I mean, why did you start it? I mean, how did you start it? And just let's even start there.
For sure. So Turbine was an idea that kind of hit me like a lightning bolt while I was at a real estate investing conference a number of years ago. I was hanging out with some physicians actually that had private equity groups that they led and doctor networks of guys that would invest together, guys and gals. And I just thought, wow, I wonder if anybody's doing that for airline pilots, because we're a professional demographic that, does very well. And just like doctors kind of have a reputation of not being so good with their money, most of us. And I thought, what an amazing opportunity to bring some incredible, risk-adjusted deals and investment knowledge to a professional cohort that could really use it. And so I sat on the idea for maybe a year, and then I said, you know what, this is really something I want to bring to life. And so about a year and a half ago, it pretty much coincided with COVID and the lockdowns. Actually, very fortunate in terms of the flying schedule really lightening up and having the time to really dig into it. So it's been taken off like a rocket ship, and we're having a blast. And by no means are we restricted to just airline pilots. That's just sort of our demographic, our niche, and that's who our sort of audience is. But anyone is absolutely more than welcome to participate with us.
Okay, got it. And I know, like you yourself, I mean, you're mainly passively investing versus active investing. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think I kind of followed the same path as a lot of investors, real estate investors that, they want to get into it. And so they buy a single family house and then, I bought another single family house and a condo, was renting those out. And just like the typical path of the real estate investor, right? You realize that doesn't scale. And so you make the jump into multifamily and you realize, wow, this is a lot of work. And I already have a full-time W-2 job. And then stumbled on passive investing. You always hear this term, use other people's money to invest, right?
Right.
OPM, like in a lot of these business books. Well, it's an opportunity to be the money partner, right? So, we have a great W-2 job. Hey, why not just be the partner, link up in arms with some really, really great operators and invest passively. So I started investing in syndications back in about 2017.
Okay.
Started really enjoying the experience of just being able to, do some due diligence on the front end. But as soon as you wire the money, you're done. You literally are just getting mailbox money, ACH deposits monthly or quarterly into your bank account. And it's a much more scalable way to build a real estate portfolio than going out and doing it myself. And that's not to say that I don't ever want to, get a little bit more involved. I did buy a sixplex in South Carolina, a year and a half ago, and I did a BRRRR, which is a buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat method on that. Did a cash out refinance after the renovations. And I am planning to buy some more multifamily for my personal portfolio, but that's really just because I'm kind of a real estate nerd and I like it. But for most people, especially if you have kids and a busy job and it's not something that is easy to go out and do. It's really easy once you have gotten started in real estate and you've got all the momentum and the network, that it's really easy to kick your feet up and talk about how great it is. But it's hard to get started. It took me years to really build that foundational knowledge and get the network and go out there and find really good deals and know how to analyze them and know how to renovate them. So it's something that it's a wonderful thing for people that don't necessarily have that drive and that interest in going out and learning how to do all that stuff, that they can simply be the money partner and diversify into commercial real estate and have that as part of their portfolio without having to go and become an expert in buying, repositioning, and managing real estate.
That makes sense. I know a lot of people in this audience, are high income earning professionals that are very good at their jobs, and they all want to dabble into investing in real estate. But I think the problem is a lot of folks don't know where to start, or they feel paralyzed in the sense that they feel like they have to have so much knowledge and they have to do everything themselves. But nowadays,
right,
that's not the case. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like you're mainly investing in things like syndications, right? And so, like that being said, when you first started, how did you even find your first syndications and which operators and whatnot to go partner up with?
So that's a really great question. And that's actually part of the genesis of why I started my company, because they're hard to find. Yep. You would think that they would be easier, but they're really not. So if we can kind of back up to unpack that question, I think we got to go back to, how syndications were originally formed. And it was in 1933 as part of the formation of the SEC. That Rule 506B, which provided an exemption so that you could pool capital to basically syndicate real estate, has been around since 1933, right? But the caveat is you were not allowed to generally solicit. You couldn't do any general solicitation. You couldn't advertise. It had to be people who you had a pre-existing relationship with. So it was kind of a country club deal, right? People who weren't familiar with the model or didn't personally know someone who was syndicating real estate was essentially barred from investing, right? Because it had to be a one-on-one deal, right? So that's really the reason why people haven't heard of it. In 2012, as part of the Obama Jobs Act, that's what allowed for crowdfunding. And in 2012, there was a lot of media attention and hoopla about, this is going to revolutionize the way that people invest in real estate with crowdfunding and microfunding and all this stuff. And it really never materialized. So what it did was it created another exemption called 506C, where you could generally solicit to the public. So all of a sudden, these syndicators could now use this separate exemption, solicit to the general public, advertise about their deals. However, we now could only accept accredited investors if you did that model. But what ended up not really materializing was just this big wave of capital. When people are investing $50,000 or $100,000 in a deal, they want to know who they're working with. And that model of, crowdfunding and the industry being disrupted by online portals where you could just sign up and invest in real estate, it just never really caught traction. And so the business model has still kind of been definitely maturing and growing, but not in this big, like everyone's doing it thing. And so the way that I found the syndicators that I work with currently and the ones that we're sort of courting to get into more, marriage, if you will, partnerships with, really is face-to-face, one-on-one conferences, referrals, and they're hard to find, and they're even harder to vet. It takes a long time to go into their track record, dig into the track record and all that stuff. So that's a big part of what we do, is finding those operators and then vetting out their track record and vetting out their current deals to see if that's something that we want to bring to our investor group.
Got it. I mean, going back to just the idea, I mean, I'm a realtor, and my audience knows that too.
Yeah.
It's just like everything's like real estate, such relationship based business. And the same thing goes into real estate investing. I mean, it's about who knows who, and like, and that reputation is everything, getting those really good, solid referrals. I mean, I think that again, it's people potentially aren't as comfortable with sending their money to like an online portal to invest in a syndication, because they don't, it's more of like a black hole. They can't necessarily talk to an actual person and have that relationship, and you know what I mean? And even meet them.
Right. Yeah. People want to work with people that they know, like, and trust. Right. So, and at the end of the day, you're right. Real estate is a relationship business. It's a team sport.
It is. And I feel that when you meet that person, whatever, that operator or whatnot, I mean, after you do all the due diligence on your part, there's also that, when you meet them in person, you get that sense of that gut check, feel if it's right or not.
Right.
And so I'm assuming you know what I'm talking about at the same time before you get into, business with any of the operators that you do business with. So going on, talking about the types of, your asset classes that you invest in, can we talk about that? I mean, what do you mean? Are you mainly focused on one type, or is it several?
Great question. So for anybody that's not really familiar with what asset classes are out there, a real quick recap of sort of what falls under the commercial umbrella. So first of all, anything, and I'm sure, of course, you know this, Dale, anything over 4 units, right, in multifamily. So if you have more than 4 units on one tax parcel, you can go duplex, triplex, quad, but the moment you go 5 units, it's a commercial property, right? So commercial multifamily. So that's one. There's multifamily, there's storage, there's industrial, hospitality, senior living, all great asset classes for different reasons, right? We started our company we launched last summer, and we were in the middle of a pandemic. Right. So we wanted to focus on recession-resistant asset classes. So there's mobile home parks and storage are the 2 asset classes that are famous for being very resilient during downturns. And this is because we'll focus on storage because that's actually the one that we're primarily focused on right now. We have an excellent relationship with an amazing operating partner that we just couldn't speak highly enough about. We're in, 5 deals with them, and they're just fantastic. So we're really focused on the storage sector right now. And the reason why storage is so resilient during downturns is because when things go wrong, people need storage. You look at during COVID, all those restaurants that all the furniture was gone, where does that stuff go? It goes into storage. Right. We, narrowly avoided with the Fed action, massive recession because there was so much liquidity pumped into the market. But had there been a big recession and there would have been, more job loss without the safety net of the PPP and the stimulus checks, we would have seen negative household formation and people moving in with friends and parents and things like that. And their furniture has to go somewhere, right? So storage performs very well during uncertain times. And we liked that last summer. And that's why we went into that, because we could know with a level of certainty that no matter what happened with the economy, that our investments would perform well.
Makes sense. Going back to like we were talking about due diligence, like do you have a process, formal process on how you conduct due diligence on your deals?
Definitely. So we have our CFO. His name is Jim Morales. He does the financial due diligence, and I'm more of the operational side. So as far as it sort of starts with the operator, right? You want to start at the top and then work your way down. So we start with the operator. We look at their sort of internal mechanics. What sort of a team do they employ? What's their track record? We want to see what happens when things go wrong, right? So this particular operating partner, for example, had a tornado go through an RV park that they had just closed on a month prior. Okay. Literally, this tornado tore apart the entire park, and within 3 or 4 months, they had the entire thing back running like clockwork, and a few months later, it was cash flowing positive for their investors. That's the kind of experience that we want to see. Just like people want to see an experienced pilot in the cockpit. Anyone can fly a plane when it's, the weather's good and things are nice and prices are increasing. And that's one of the dangers right now is when you look at the landscape, there's a lot of operators that look like geniuses that have only been in the business for the last 10 years because the rising tide has lifted all ships. So you really want to dig into their operations and how they handle issues when things go wrong. From there, digging down to the deal specifics. And that's where we always go and conduct site visits. So we actually have a portfolio deal open as we speak on a 9-property storage portfolio down in the Southeast with them. And I flew out and I actually site visited all 9 of those properties with them, talked to the on-site managers, got a sense of the surrounding areas, asked the managers, hey, what does it look like when it really rains around here? Does it flood? What's the demographic? Like, what are customers asking for? So really, really getting a deeper sense. And that's really not something you can do as an individual investor. If I was just investing $50,000, I don't know if I would take that time out of my life to go and spend a week, looking at storage units. Yep. But because we run this fund, we're really digging into it. And then Jim handles the underwriting. So he's been in the financial industry for 20 years. Works his day job is for a real estate operator that has about 9,000 units and $2 billion under management, and so he's the one that shreds apart the underwriting and makes sure that he likes it from the financial side.
Okay, just so for clarification purposes for the audience that may not even be familiar with some of these terms, so it's like you're not an operator, but
correct.
Like, you have a fund. You're the syndicator, right?
Correct.
So what would be the difference to an investor then between investing directly with the operator versus investing with you as a syndicator?
Great question. So there's a number of differences between investing directly with an operator and investing with like a fund like ours. Right. So first off, let me explain why we pool money in the first place. Okay. So the benefit for us is that, we're building out the largest network of airline pilot investors in the world. And again, anybody else that wants to come along and join our group, more than welcome to, right? But it's a group of airline pilots. We've got strength in numbers, right? We have more teeth to do due diligence. We have a larger budget for due diligence. And because we're pooling money and investing a larger sum, we can command better terms for our investor group. And that's how we can make money on that delta, right? So my company, instead of doing, say, a 50-50 split, we get a 60-40 split, and then we return the investors to their original economics that they would get had they gone directly to the sponsor and done all the due diligence and all that work on their own. From the sponsor side, the benefit of working with a group like ours is that it's certainty of raising capital. If they know that as they grow, their capital needs are going to grow, and so developing a relationship with a group like ours is important to them because they know that if they bring a good deal, they're not going to have any problem funding it. And they have this particular operating partner has a very robust list of direct investors, but as they grow, it helps them to know that we have a large group, and that if we run it through the ringer and we really like it, that we can bring in a large piece of equity. So to answer your question, for the retail investors, really the difference between investing directly with an operator and investing through a group like ours, financially, it shouldn't be much different, if at all. but as far as the experience that you're getting, you're really going to get, a streamlined and as smooth a user experience as possible, because we want to take really, really, really good care of our investors. And you're also going to get the benefit of our relationships, our deal flow, and our due diligence process.
And what I personally like about investing also with, syndicators as well is, that they have that extra level of that due diligence that I wouldn't necessarily do myself if I went directly to that operator too. They vetted it even more so.
And we don't love every deal that they bring around. We dig into each one and we let every few go under the bridge, and then we pick the ones that we really like.
Speaking of self-storage, that space, do you see any challenges in that space right now?
Quite the opposite. We already kind of touched on why we like it in downturns, but in good times, there's so much money searching for yield in the world right now, and storage is an asset class that has caught the attention of the institutions. Yep. Bill Gates just became a large owner of one of the largest storage REITs in the country. There are billions of dollars flowing in from Blackstone and Cascade. And to give you kind of to put it in perspective, if you wanted to place $100 million worth of capital in the multifamily space, it's very easy to do that. You could do that with a couple apartment complexes in Texas. If you want to place $100 million in storage, that's very difficult to do. If Blackstone could buy every single storage facility that trades in the US an entire year, and it would only account for 0.2% of their entire platform. So these REITs are really pushing money into the space because it yields very well. There's a common misconception that they're really easy to build and pop up, but it's a very localized business. It has to be in the right location. And there's also, it can be very tricky to get cities to sign off on it. They're a little bit like mobile home parks where, it's kind of a not in my backyard thing.
Yep.
So they're a little trickier to build in the right spot than people might think. And with the amount of capital inflows that we're seeing, we just really, we obviously underwrite for cap rate expansion, but we are seeing a massive cap rate compression right now with the money flowing in that's searching for yield there. So there's a lot of money that's searching for these opportunities right now with very aggressive pricing. So we think it's a really good time to enter the space.
For a typical self-storage fund, for those that haven't even invested in a syndication for that matter, what is the time frame for that investment, from the beginning of it to the end of it usually?
Well, in any syndication deal, you have to project something, right? You have to put a projected hold period, right? But it really comes down to the business plan. What are you planning to do with it, right? So our projected hold times on most of the deals that we've seen come across our desk are 5 years. Yeah. But then again, really that's just a conservative estimate of how long the operator thinks it will take to complete the business plan, meaning get in there, professionalize operations, renovate the offices, put everybody on auto pay. Because, a lot of times we come in from mom and pop operators that people are still bringing down cash to the office, put in modern security systems, all of the value add stuff that needs to go on, right? In addition to the physical stuff, which is expansions, resealing drive aisles, making the place look really good with paint and all that with, and of course, staff. It goes on and on, right? So how long is it going to take to complete that business plan, to add the value that we're looking to add, and then exit? So I think that on the specific deal that we're looking at right now, that we're actually open for funding on right now, is a 5-year hold, but that will give us about an 18 to 36 month buffer on what we think internally it will take to complete that business plan.
Got it. Which leads me into I'm curious to even hear more about that fund that you got going on right now. Can you tell me more about that? Where again is it geographically located?
Yeah, so this is a 9-property self-storage portfolio in Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. We've got, I think, 5 properties in Georgia, 3 in Florida, and 1 in Tennessee. And actually, there was a 10th property that was just put under contract that's actually going to be added to it right across the street from one of the facilities in Warner Robins. So this is it's a $30 million purchase, and total project cost of about $42 million, if memory serves me right, after the expansions and initial improvements and all that sort of stuff. Repositioning it to the operator's national brand standard, and looking to sort of, there's multiple exit strategies. We could sell off one and return capital to investors. We could sell a couple of them. We could sell a Florida portfolio, but really I think the preferred exit would be to add value into the largest portfolio that we possibly could across the operator's national portfolio, and sell then to like a publicly traded REIT or a Blackstone.
In terms of value add strategy, what kinds of value adds are you doing to an actual facility? Like, is it because it was like managed poorly before, or just
and these ones, so these were aggregated by a couple of brothers down in Florida. They've been sort of piecemealed together over the past 4 years, and they've done a good job. They've done some expansion. They've got actually some really great on-site managers that we were able to speak to. A lot of those will be staying after the transition, but just lacking a level of sophistication that a company like our operating partner really brings to the table. So, for example, there are a number of things on the table that we can add ancillary revenue to the projects with, such as tenant insurance. I mean, this is a huge one. A lot of mom and pops don't require tenant insurance. So, for example, on a typical storage unit, it'd be about $8 a month. And if when they sign up for a unit, they use our insurance, then we get half of it. So you multiply that across thousands of units. That's a very, very easy way to add ancillary revenue. They don't have to go through ours, but most people do, because it's like checking a box on the form, right? You have to have it. You want to use ours, or you want to go and mess around with your insurance company. Most people don't do that. So there's propane sales, there's U-Haul truck rentals, and U-Haul's just a ground lease program. We don't do anything with the trucks. We just clean them and hand out the keys. Okay. There's the ice and vending and merchandise sales, boxes, tape, and stuff like that. We could do PO boxes. We do FedEx and UPS drop-off locations at all these locations. And those things aren't really the things that are going to move the needle on revenue, but they're just going to make your facility that much more attractive to customers that are shopping around. It's like, well, this one's got all that stuff, so we're going to go there. And it helps with overall pricing of the facility, right, when you're renting a unit. So that, in addition to the physical improvements, which would be, we immediately go in there and seal drive aisles, make it like that fresh blacktop that looks real nice, paint, make sure that the roofs are all fixed and they're leak free, obviously taking care of any deferred maintenance on the structure, making sure that the drive aisles, the drainage is working properly. And that's also something that we look at very thoroughly during our due diligence process. And really just, when we say value, what is a property valued at? It's a multiple of income, right? So really, we're just looking for ways to increase revenue and decrease expenses, and we do that via all those things. Plus, most of these facilities have vacant land to expand, and there's good demand in the market. So we look to once we get in there and stabilize the facilities, we finalize the expansion plans and start building new climate controlled facility, adjunct to the existing facilities.
Very cool. Is the fund only open to accredited investors?
Yes, it is. That's the only reason why I can talk about it.
Good one. Hey, going back to just the topic of passive investing in general, besides passive investing being, super simple and easy, what else do you like about, it?
Cash flow. The whole reason I got into real estate was to replace my income. I'm, like you said on my intro, I'm on a personal crusade to replace my income, my W-2 income with passive cash flow. And the best way I see to do that is through real estate. And I know that you've got some note investments, which are also a fantastic way to have cash flow add cash flow to your portfolio. And, I always say cash flow is like airspeed, right? So your income is your thrust. To give an aviation example, income is your thrust, your expenses are your drag, and the difference is how fast you can accelerate, right? So every time that you invest in something that cash flows, retirement accounts are fantastic, and you can actually invest in syndications as well through self-directed retirement accounts. But, your 401k, your W-2 401k is great, but that's a later bucket, right? That's for me in 30 years. That's not for me today. And I want to build my today bucket because that will ultimately help me build my tomorrow bucket even faster if I can fill up my today bucket. So cash flow, and I'm all about the cash flow.
That makes sense. I mean, for folks that are thinking about becoming passive investors, do you have any advice for them?
Definitely. Just really get educated. There are some really great podcasts out there to get familiar with the terms. You want to be able to not, there are good syndications out there, and there are not so great syndications out there. And I've invested in some not so great ones, when I was first getting started. Ones that have underperformed pretty nicely. So just getting educated, getting together with a network of people who know what they're doing and that can that you can share knowledge with and network with. There are some great books out there. Brian Burke from Praxis Capital, I believe, fantastic book that talks all through how to run due diligence on a syndication deal. And so really that's the advice I would have is do your homework, get a little bit of baseline knowledge. And if you don't have the time, you don't have the desire to go out there and find a bunch of operators and run your own due diligence on their deals, link up with one of the many companies that sort of pool funds together. I know, Dale, you're working on one that you're starting, right?
Soon to be working on one. Yeah. So like I'm generally I'm eventually going to be a general partner myself on a syndication. So the answer is yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. So you're going to be an operator, right?
Just like
you. Yep. Well, we're not an operator. Well, we're not buying our own real estate.
Right. Yeah. So on my side, yes. On my side, I'm probably, I'm going to put together, I'm going to, me partnering up and whatnot as a general partner. And but it's, I'm not going to handle the day-to-day per se, but like
gotcha.
Run a team thing.
You'll be part of the GP. Got it.
Exactly.
Got it. Yep. Fantastic.
So how does somebody invest with you?
Best way is to go to our website, turbinecap.com. So it's turbine, like a turbine engine, TURBINE, cap, like capital, CAP.com. Sign up for our list. And if you can go right to our investor portal. If you click on investor login and create an account, we've got that storage deal open as we speak. And you can also just reach out to me directly, Tait, which is TAIT, at turbinecap.com. And feel free to shoot me an email. Be happy to walk you through the process and have a conversation, talk about more about what we do.
Very cool. Well, those are all the questions that I had for this episode. So if any of your listeners have any more questions for Tait, just reach out to him directly. So thanks, Tait, for coming on this episode.
Thanks for letting me talk about everything that we're doing. I appreciate it, Dale.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate your time and the value you brought to the listeners. And to all the listeners, thank you for checking out this episode of the School of Cash Flow. So until next time, you live your life abundantly.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the School of Cash Flow. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all the tips and tricks you can use to help you on your passive investing journey. In the meantime, you may visit www.cashflowschoolpodcast.com for more great episodes. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.